China Uber Alice is brought to you in part by Sushi Market Sprouts on 7th in Santa Cruz and Kaito in the Capitol Mall Food Court. Treat yourself to the finest Japanese cuisine you'll find anywhere with fresh sushi to go and delicious ramen dinners. Sushi Market Sprouts and Kaito. Yum! Welcome to another edition of China Uber Alice here on AM 1080 KSCO. I'm Bill Graff, your host, along with Nan Su, a senior reporter from the Epoch Times, and Amy Howe, a survivor of the re-education camps from the Chinese Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao, our regular guests on this program. We have a great show for you today, truly actually a great program, because we're going to talk about something that we don't normally think about. You know, we spend a lot of money, a lot of tax dollars at universities around the United States and various states. Each state, coughs up a lot of money for their universities. California is no exception to that. The University of California system generates a pile of money. And that money is reinvested in the university itself, but it's also, it's reinvested elsewhere as well. Let's talk about that now. I do want to remind you we're going to start our program in just a moment with Amy Howe, who is on the KSCO live line with us as usual, and we'll get her story to sort of tie in with what we're going to talk about in just a moment. Nan Su is back from his little visit to Hawaii, and he's back in the studio with us this Thursday. So, Nan, we're going to talk about how the university invests in other places, such as
China,
yes,
and the University of California, specifically UC Berkeley, has been building graduate study institutions in China and partnering with Chinese government, as well as the Chinese top university that's leading China's military civil fusion program.
That top university is China's equivalent of MIT.
Yeah, it's called China's MIT. The real name is Tsinghua University. So we're going to talk about that. It's a really bizarre situation. Think about it. There's close to 400,000 students here, study in the United States right now. All our universities are getting a lot of money from China, but don't forget there's a quid pro quo, right? What's the meaning of that? So the meaning is all of our academics are going to China, fighting in the intellectual property jungle, and Chinese academics come in and go, and then they took the technologies on the research stage, and we, from us, and we even have one of the academic, a scholar from University of Berkeley. He went to China in the late 90s, and he became founders of China's academic institution. He worked on both sides for a decade, and then what? He decided to drop the U.S. citizenship. Now he become a Chinese.
Now he's in China.
He's a Chinese citizen now. So that's what's happening.
Can I ask you something about that? When you become a Chinese citizen, do you have to join the Communist Party?
You don't have to. But,
do you end up doing that usually?
For the kind of a person, I don't have, I'm a reporter. I don't have, I don't want to speculate if that person actually from UC Berkeley.
What is the usual case? Does a person is it like defecting? Do you know what I mean? When you become a Chinese citizen, do you automatically apply for, associate with the Communist Party?
Well, he is highly regarded by the Chinese Communist Party, no doubt about that.
Okay.
Now, but I'm not sure he actually joined the Chinese Communist Party directly. Don't forget, in China, there is a so-called democratic parties. They're not really the opposition parties. They are the assistant ruling parties that assist the Communist Party rule China. So usually those highly regarded academics will join one of those assistant ruling party.
All right. Okay.
That's why in China there was.
I didn't mean to throw you off.
So, Nan, may I ask you something? That guy is an American citizen?
Yes, he was from Taiwan, and then he came to United States.
Chinese origin?
Yes. And his family fled China to Taiwan just right before the Chinese Communist Party took over control of mainland China. I think that his family went to Taiwan in 1948. And then he grew up in Taiwan. He came to the United States in the 70s as a foreign student. He graduated here, and he became U.S. citizen, and he became successful. And then in the 90s, he was recruited. He went to China, and then after working on both sides for a decade, and he finally dropped the U.S. citizenship. And also, not to forget, our universities are in China now, instead of traditionally receiving students from China, but now our universities from United States are in China helping China's military technology development. Wow. So that's what we're going to talk about. But of course, first we're going to hear the story from Amy. Amy spent more than a decade of time on the re-education camp during Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao. So Amy, what are you going to bring us today?
Yeah, I'm going to continue my father's story since last week and refresh everybody's memory. And my father was arrested because they say the charge is they say that he joined the secret service of the Kuomintang government, and so that's very grave accusations. So it would be executed, but they didn't execute him. The story is they found out. I'm talking about why they say that. Why they charge him that is that because in China, you're doing business, and you had to seeking protection. It's not really had to join the gang, but it's like a mafia control. So you're doing business in Shanghai, you had to join the gang and basically pay the protection fees to the gang leaders. And so he didn't know anything about that. So he come back from Hong Kong, so started this tobacco company they called the South China Sea Tobacco Company. So the base was in Hong Kong, and then they have a branch in Vietnam and also Philippines, and they also in Nanjing and Shanghai. So they say that you're doing business if you don't pay the protection fee and you don't join the gang. Actually, it's not really join the gang. You don't do anything about the gang's activities. You just pay the protection fee for your business. So the ceremony is that you go to a very fancy restaurant because you pay for that and get those gang leaders, and you say that you are their brothers, so initialized. And then this gang leader in Shanghai, which was very famous, everybody know his name, and he said that to him, I said that, you do business also not just in China, also as a country, so you need more protection. I had to introduce you and to more important person, and that person will protect you in another country. So one day, he took my father to see that person, and happened to be he is head of this Kuomintang government's secret service. It's like a FBI, in America, that kind of thing, but the secret service. So my father was kind of scared. They said, maybe this guy going to kill me or something, because, they were arrest people killed that nobody know about it, right? So, but that guy said that, I don't want you to do anything about political things, my activities, my organization's activities, nothing to do with you. All I need the money. I have a position, I have a power, but I don't have a time to make money. So you are a businessman, so I give you some money as an investment, and then you make money for me. So that's also tough. That means his investment doesn't matter if it's really profit or loss. You had to pay him. You had to say is make a profit. You had to give him every month. Say that's your investment, the return, right? So obviously my father understood that. And so that's the relationship. And but the nothing to do with the activity they involve, like arrest the Communist Party member and kill them or interrogating them. Nothing to do with that. And so somebody, I think he didn't know who is that, because anonymous, because they didn't want to tell. Two people, just reported him, say that he has a relationship with that head of the secret service. That's why being arrested. So normally they execute you first, and then maybe later it found out it's wrong, so, that's it. But he was lucky, because they got this Chinese Communist Party, the secret service. They got some kind of information. That guy, they fled to Taiwan. They all gone, right, in Taiwan. And he wanted to defect it. He wanted to defect it back to China, to Communist Party. And this guy is very interesting. Originally, he was a Communist Party member and studied the politics science in Moscow. And then he be arrested, come back to China. So he just defected to the Kuomintang, because so they make him as eventually as head of their secret service, because he know how the Chinese CCP, how they operating the secret service, how to recruit people, everything. So he knows everything, right? So now he want to defect again back to Communist Party. So they get some information, but they don't know it's true or not. So they just want to make my father as a guinea pig and whatever, and sacrifice land and or bait to go to Hong Kong to find out where he lived. So if he found out that my father was sent by CCP, so if he didn't want to defect it, so gonna kill him, right, or arrest him. So if he really want to defect it, and so my father would get his address, and of course they don't want my father to do anything, so we'll give them what's the actual address, because he was in secret service. He lived, nobody know where he lived. So he can use this, this business relationship to get him. So that's his mission. So they told my father, say, you had to, we're not going to execute you, but you had to complete, to your mission, and to find out this guy. So my father know very well, if the guy was not really wanted to defect it to China, so he found out that he sent up by CCP, immediately going to kill him. There's no question about it. And so the day, at that time, I was just born, not even 1 year old. That's 1953. And I don't remember anything. And later, my mother told me, and they said they put my father in the undisclosed location, and so told my mother to tell to talk my brother and me three, so to say goodbye. So we maybe never see him again, So my father recorded, that day. He said it's very sad as day. He think he never able to see us again. And he said, I didn't know anything. I just, playing or something, because I was too young to understand what's happened. Probably he never come back. They kill him. Either communists kill him or that guy kill him or whatever, Kuomintang kill him. And we never will have a father. So, and then he went there, I don't know, and he's kind of lucky, and that guy is really want to defect. So he was pretending he was still in Hong Kong operating the business, and didn't say he already went back to China. But that they know about it because that guy is, for God's sake, is just head of a secret service. How they didn't know about it? They definitely know. So the first encounter is he tried to walking around, and to find where he lived, because Hong Kong is lots of people, lots of places where how can you can find? It's like you looking for the needle in the ocean. And but they think about one thing, one person, maybe and that's not his wife, but this guy's girlfriend. Because at that time he wanted my father to make money to supply his life, and not his household, his normal household, his wife and the children, also his girlfriend. So he think maybe that woman's still there. So, so he got there and found that she's still there. And so she tried to find out where he lived. But the woman said that she didn't know about it. And maybe she know, but they met. They were still meet sometimes, but in different places. It's not where he lived. And but they had given the very important clue. He said that his wife would come out every week, had to go to one restaurant to eat a breakfast. And Friday morning or something, he said that you will show up there. Maybe you know his wife, so maybe your wife will tell you where they live. So my father think that's a very good clue. And so he went on Friday and saw his wife, and then he just come in, just like pretending nothing, and just like surprising, and then meet him in a restaurant. So his wife, because that guy that time want my father to make money, always want my father to deliver the money to his wife. So his wife would say, "Oh, and I haven't seen you for a while, and you is gonna give me some money or what?" It's joking. And they say, no. It's things changing. I don't even know you guys in Hong Kong. I thought it was in Taiwan. And so they started chatting. And then the wife just accidentally and told him where they live. So he found out the address. He know where it is, and but not the wife also realized he shouldn't tell him. So not the details, the number of the building, and just in the street. So at least he got that. And then it's like you had to do that like a detective work, right? So anyway, he found this place, and then he had to report it to the communist secret service. Then eventually, he's lucky. They sent him back. Of course, he's never able to get out of China anymore, so they control him. And eventually, they didn't kill him. That means it's successful. And eventually, and the official newspaper reported, say this guy defected. No, they just want to show, see, in Taiwan, those even head of this department and those Kuomintang's officials, they wanted to come back to the China. They don't want to work for Jiang guys anymore. So this just a propaganda reason. So they reported it. Finally, he saw that. He said, "Oh my God, that's why they didn't kill me." So, but since then, and he completely 100% controlled by CCP, even not in jail. Basically, it's in big jail. So you cannot do anything. You cannot go anywhere, and then you have to constantly to report everything, and to them. So that's his story, and then eventually, and they took away his business. They say in 1956, that time they say the private sector have to have a partner with the CCP government. So they sent their representative to take over. They say issue you some stock. They say they will pay you the interest, and after 10 years. So whether they did as 1956, 1966, Cultural Revolution happened. So that's the end of the story. He never get any money. And so also that time, you just desperately wanted to destroy this evidence they owe you, and to just give it to them. So that's what happened to the Chinese, the private business. So
Wow.
they took it over. Yeah.
What a story. What a story. And so your father ended up being a prisoner in a sense that he couldn't leave, or he was controlled by the government. Even though he was not put to death or kept in jail, he was basically a roving prisoner.
That's right.
Wow.
Well, think about what's the key here.
Communist Party.
It's once you have a handle in the hands of a Communist Party, they will do whatever they are able to take advantage of it. And look at our China policy in the past 50 years. Ever since Henry Kissinger visited Beijing, the Beijing's leadership always find that there's something we want from them, and then they try to take advantage.
Right.
Right. See, during the Cold War time, they say, United States need an ally, so they try to take advantage. And then in the 90s, they found, all these Americans, they have the kind of like a rosy picture about the Communist Party in China. They think, help China to develop into a capitalist market, maybe will make China, because they figure out we want China to become more democratic. We want
not only that, we want the Chinese market.
And so they say, this is a big handle. Right? So as a result, they ask to join WTO. So we let them join WTO. And in 2 decades of time after China joined WTO, now we just found that we created a huge monster. It's the biggest threat after the Cold War. This is, once they have a handle of you, they're going to use it, and it's the same.
And Amy's stories. Prove it.
Prove it.
Every one of Amy's stories proves it. Right down to her own father and her own family. The first story really proved it for me when they made Amy denounce her parents.
Yeah, that's it.
And then the neighbor didn't do that, and then pretty soon the neighbor disappeared.
And it's the same thing here for the University of California, as well as all the American universities that's taking students from China. Now, 2020 to 2021 school year, academic year, UC 10 campus give admissions of 286,000 students. Out of the 286,000 students, 40,000 are foreign students. Out of that 40,000 foreign students, close to 26,000 of them are from China. Mm-hmm. So the students from China are more than the total foreign students from the rest of the world other than China combined.
And almost 10% of the entire population
of the UC.
Wow.
Right? So now think about it. There was how many California high school graduates want to get into UC, but they couldn't get in.
No space.
No space. But
Yeah.
But we can put 10% Chinese citizens.
right now,
Yeah.
of course, they pay almost 3 times
As much.
as the California pays as an in-state tuition, right? But however, that's not it. See, now think about this. A significant portion of these Chinese students from China are paid by CCP. They don't pay their own money. They are funded by CCP to study in the United States, which means, except the money part, except the UC making a lot of money from China. See, UC and all these American universities that's receiving Chinese students paid by Chinese government to study in the U.S., they are directly doing business with CCP.
By definition.
Right?
By definition.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore,
So
didn't they give a big handle to CCP?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
You get the money directly from CCP. So of course, as a return, they will ask for something. So that's why in 2014, UC Berkeley and China's MIT, that's Tsinghua University, that's the China's MIT, they have a joint venture, and also it's called the first practice of the model of so-called university government industry collaboration. So
Wow.
they have a Chinese government, they have a Chinese university, they have a UC Berkeley, and they have all the American and Chinese corporations all together. They call it the first practice of university government and industry collaboration model. So they started that in 2014, which really
Anything they come up with, any invention, any innovation, any research, anything like that they come up with is automatically, in my mind, kind of suspect as to what it will be used for, who gets the patent or the credit for the inventions. All of that sort of thing is immediately. Am I wrong here, Amy?
No, I just try to say this right now, this moment, to those collaborators in university, those professors, scientists, and also like Nan just mentioned that the guy and give up his American citizenship and to become a Chinese citizen. Those people, I don't know, maybe they are brainwashed by communism and in the school or propaganda, but they will know, because those people normally, as I know, I met a lot of liberal people here in UC Berkeley, and they never lived under the communism. They never did. So they were thinking they are nice people.
Well,
and eventually they will realize, what kind of stupid thing they did, and to betray our country and to become and go to China and to contribute stealing those technology to contribute to Chinese.
Now that institute, it's called Tsinghua-Berkeley Shenzhen Institute. Now Shenzhen is the city that's right next to the Hong Kong.
Right.
Yeah. So that basically that institution, it's a graduate study that focuses only on new technology that include information technology, the number one, information technology and data science. Right?
So AI.
AI. The number two, it's called new energy technologies.
Oh, jeez.
Number three, it's called environmental science.
Oh, brother.
And number 4, it's called precision medicine and healthcare. It's all
precision medicine and healthcare.
Yeah.
You know what that translates to? Nanotechnology.
That's it.
Exactly.
So it's
Wow.
that's the kind of the graduate institution that Berkeley and Tsinghua built together in China. Keep in mind, Berkeley is not receiving the Chinese student come to United States. They go there. They go China now to help them. Now, and Tsinghua, it's the leader in China. It's the leading leader in China leading the military civil fusion. It's a development started by CCP back in 2015. Now, Chinese military has a so-called military civil fusion committee, and guess who is the director of that committee? It's Xi Jinping himself.
Wow.
So Tsinghua, it's supervised directly by that committee, basically directly under the supervision of Xi Jinping doing the military and civil fusion development. So pretty much, all this development in China.
You don't even have to spell it out, Nan. You do not even have to spell it out. You don't have to explain it anymore. When you say that the current chairman, everybody refers to him as president, but he's really the chairman, not the president. When the chairman is the head of the collaboration committee between the two, the university, the two
supervise.
He's the honcho. He's the jefe. He's the boss.
That's it.
Okay, so we've laid this out for you now. Now, here's our question for today. We want to know if you think, you our audience, you our listeners today, think that our education budget here in the United States is funding Chinese military research. Now, keep in mind, after what we just explained is happening, one of our best universities, certainly one of our most thought of universities, at least here in California, is UC Berkeley. UC Berkeley is now working directly with the Chinese MIT. Now, think about the fact that the Chinese MIT is working directly with the Chinese military.
And now, Chinese MIT, the Tsinghua University, that has a lab that's receiving funding directly from Chinese military to do AI research for military. And they also have they have a system that's helping military's missile system design. And historically, that university also helped China develop its nuclear weapon technology. So that Tsinghua University is one of the biggest research institution helping China's military technology development. And they're still doing right now. Actually, just a couple years ago, directly under the leadership of Xi Jinping, actually Tsinghua actually planned, organized, and participated a national event. National event. It's called the Military Civil Fusion Exhibition. It's organized and planned by Tsinghua University.
And they're, I would assume, if it's an exhibition, they are showing off the technology they have. They developed
by Tsinghua researchers, which is
stealing from us.
Chinese. It's the fastest computer
in the world.
Yeah, that's what they claim. The fastest computer in the world.
Faster than Watson.
We don't know.
IBM.
Well,
that's pretty fast.
Yeah, we don't know if it is true, but that's what they claim. The fastest computer.
Well, if they're even trying to claim that it is the fastest, it's probably pretty fast.
And what's even more trouble, it's when you look at the advisory committee of that institute.
Oh, here we go.
It's got Huawei.
Oh, yeah, I knew it.
You got a ZTE, that's also censored by our Commerce Department, and China's biggest internet company, Tencent, and American corporations, Cisco, Apple, and applied material.
Oh, jeez. Really?
Yeah.
So let me bring it back to Amy's story for just a second,
Okay.
right? Amy's father, okay? Think about now, I'm going to go to the idea of control, okay? Let's bring it back to Amy's story for just a minute. Amy told us just a few minutes ago about her father being controlled by the communists. They didn't put him to death. Instead, they sentenced him to a lifetime of subterfuge. He had to basically spy for the Chinese government and take the information back, and that way he stayed alive, but he could never leave the country. He could never have any real freedom, right? Okay? As Amy just told us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So now, take that idea for a second and apply it to the country, to the companies you just talked about, and all of those people who are collaborating, you know, thinking they're coming up with cutting edge technology and research, and they're going to publish their academic papers, and they're going to be academia, right? That's what they think is happening. When what's really happening, after you've laid it out, Nan, is they're basically helping the Chinese government steal our secrets.
Yeah, so that's what it is. Yeah, you're welcome to join the discussion. That's what we are going to discuss today.
Yes, boy, what a discussion. Amy, you laid it out so well. It's so easy to follow this week. It's easier than usual, but wow. David in San Francisco has called us. I'm going to put David on. Let's see, I got to set this up so I don't confuse the phone lines here. I'm going to set David up on line 2. David, you are on China Uber Alice. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just wondering, I keep hearing that China is communist, but if they've got sweatshops, they can't be communist. And there are two other aspects.
Whoa, why not?
Well, when you look at the history of the Communist Party, it all started because there were sweatshops, because people were virtual slaves to these corporate interests. And, of course, corporations have been around long before 1776. So the idea that corporations are a danger to working people, and they, create sweatshops and make people virtual slaves, whether actual slaves or whether company store slaves. So the idea that China has sweatshops, they can't be communist.
So what do you think they are, right, David?
Corporate state.
Corporate state.
Oh, okay. I'm
let's
sorry.
Talk about it.
Wait, David. I'm confused. I really am.
Yeah. If you know the phrase corporate state, that was what Mussolini and Rocco. Rocco was a political scientist, and Mussolini, the dictator of Italy, he and Rocco came up with the treatise on the corporate state. And then, of course, Hitler took that and turned it into his version, which was called fascism. But the concept of the corporate state is that the monopolies run the country, and that the people get to elect a leader, but that leader has to bargain against the monopolies. And so the leader either has to be totally clever, totally wise, totally powerful in order to compete against all of the monopolies, or the monopolies, of course, don't want that, and they would ask that the people elect an idiot. And so someone who could be suckered, tricked, duped into giving up the nation's assets.
But David, I don't think what you just said describes Xi Jinping at all.
So, Xi Jinping was never through a public election to become leaders of China, right? Do you agree, David?
Well, there was a fraudulent election, but surely there was an election that, and then of course he was able to deem himself powerful for life, president for life, which is an insult to a democracy, or even for communism, because, and that's why it gets into the corporate state. And what I contend is going on is it's more like corporate wars. People have known ever since Vietnam that many of these fake wars that America is tricked into doing are really just corporate wars.
So, do you think, David, China actually it's a practicing capitalism then?
Of a sort, but it's not even actual capitalism. It's more like monopoly. Like capitalism, hypothetically, there are different versions of capitalism, but the great philosophy of it is that competition is the best, because that not only creates better prices but better products. That the better, the more competition you've got, the more opportunity to create better products and better future. But when you start getting into monopolies like Mussolini and Hitler, and for that matter, the idea that all of the American jobs are being sold to sweatshops where the people have no vote in whether or not they're building a good product. They're just there to work for extrusion machines that create some part of a product, and they don't necessarily have any hand in the big picture. So if you look at Russia today, it's a bunch of oligarchs, which is another version of the corporate state, a bunch of billionaires that run an entire country. China is apparently, the corporations that want to use the country as a sweatshop, and then, of course, the United States is rapidly becoming corporate state. So it's the three different entities, Russia, China, and, well, for that matter, Brazil and India are also rapidly corporate state. The idea that we're working with corporate wars, corporate politics, and what makes it even uglier, since America is designed for taxation with representation, that the little guy has a vote in how his taxes are spent. These rich guys, these billionaires, don't pay taxes, but they buy the politicians. So it's representation without taxation. And so it's a mockery of democracy here in America, and it's an insult to the world, because these guys have no clue about cleaning up their poisons, cleaning up their hazardous wastes. And one thing that's actually convinced me more that China is not communist, an actual a directorship of the proletariat or whatever. The idea is that public information. And right now they've got a nuclear power plant down near Hong Kong that's in danger. Nobody knows how dangerous it is because the Chinese government won't tell anybody. They've got, as I understand it, 80 million people within proximity of what could be a dangerous nuclear power plant. They're not telling anybody anything. And what makes it uglier is when you think about this Bitcoin economy, that Bitcoin requires a huge amount of electricity to create false value. That you mining for Bitcoin, and they're admitting that there are at least 6 different coal-fired plants in northern China that are producing electricity just for Bitcoin. And so it's creating false economics, false value for, some piece of computer money that you can't see or hold. And are they actually using this power plant that's melting down or creating problems in southern China to create false value? And they would put 80 million people at risk. They're refusing to shut this nuclear power plant down because they say it's too important. So they won't shut it down, and are they using it just to create Bitcoin fake money? So they can't be communists if that's what's really going on.
Hey, David, let me ask you. David, let me just ask you.
Wait.
Amy, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. First of all, I had to thank David for his very intelligent input for this program. Lots of definitions really should have a new interpretation. So, you talking about, we call them communism because that was all the communism, the concept. They completely not anymore. I agree with that.
Well, first of all, David, let me ask you this: what did the Beijing's leadership call their own party? What's the name they call their own party?
Well, the Republic of China, right?
No, the Communist,
the Chinese Communist Party, right?
Well, right, but I found an old book that was written about 1941 that was talking about Stalin, And this guy that wrote the book, the name of the book is Out of the Night, and it's written by a guy named Jean Valtin, and he was a communist in northern Germany. And while Hitler was coming to power, they were begging for assistance from Stalin. And Stalin would call these communists up to Moscow, and then they would either be killed or they would disappear. And so, according to this communist that wrote this book, Out of the Night, he claimed that Stalin was not a communist, and in fact, if you study the Koch brothers, the Koch brothers' father was making money right at that time selling oil drilling equipment to Russia. And it's funny that the John Birch Society, the Koch brothers, their father was, not only the originator of the John Birch Society, but he made his fortune from Stalin. And when you look at the Stalin's children, they were basically criminals who would steal the assets of Russia and sell them in auctions, art auctions in Europe, and live in penthouses in Europe. So they weren't. They were certainly not communists. They were thieves. And there's even an allegation that the Rockefellers paid Stalin to keep the oil fields away from Royal Dutch Shell. Royal Dutch Shell.
David, I think you're really confused. If Stalin is not communist,
then nobody's communist.
And then the Chinese Communist Party is not Communist Party.
Then nobody's communist.
There's nobody's Communist Party.
Well, the bigger they get, the less likely they are, right?
Well, look, I hate to put it simply, but if it quacks like a duck and it looks like a duck
and it walks like a duck,
it's a duck.
Well, I don't think so, because...
Okay, we can agree to disagree, but I'm pretty certain they're communists.
So you're actually thinking, this Communist Party controlled country, they are just a different form of capitalism.
Well, they're obviously rental grounds for the biggest corporations in the world, right? Would anybody ever claim that most of the biggest corporations of the world that are using sweatshops in China, that if they were real communists in China, they would never rent out their people to be sweatshop slaves?
Sure they would.
Sure they would.
Then why would you call them communists?
Well, wait a minute. The word
they call themselves communism.
Yeah, let me finish.
Right? We didn't call them communism.
Well, first of all, think about the word communism first. It comes from the root word commune, which is a collective sweatshop.
No, it's not a sweatshop.
Oh, yes, it is. It's just an ideological sweatshop.
No. You can look at the in upstate New York.
Oh, come on. We can't, David. You can't compare what's going on in China to upstate New York hippies.
What inspired Karl Marx, right? Karl Marx was the first communist, right? I mean, you got to look at the history of communism, that people had co-ops. They were not, collective is of common agreement.
Hey, David, I'm running out of time for the top of the hour. If you want to call back for the second hour, we'll put you back on and talk about this some more. But I don't agree with you, and I don't think Nan does either.
Well, first of all, if you say, I don't agree with you that China is a form of capitalism. There are two reasons. Number one, there's no free market in China. Number two, Chinese leadership does not protect private property rights.
That's right.
You don't have private property rights, you don't have a free market, then you don't have capitalism.
We'll be right back.
Satisfy your hunger right now with the delicious ramen and sushi you'll find waiting for you at Kaito. Easy in and out location in the Capitola Mall food court. Special orders welcome. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
This is Koji. I'm looking forward to seeing you at my restaurant, Kaito.
Primo Roofing Company is giving away a free roof to a deserving homeowner. Do you know a friend, neighbor, or family member in desperate need of a new roof? This year, in addition to the free roof, we're proud to provide exterior painting, a solar system, gutters, skylights, and much more. Log on to PrimoRoofing.com. That's PrimoRoofing.com and fill out the free roof application. We're looking forward to seeing our community come together to help one of our own in need. Free roof giveaway brought to you by Primo Roofing Company and their local partners.
Chef Ben here from the Back Nine Grill and Bar at the Pasatiempo exit. where we serve the very best house-ground burgers in Santa Cruz County, and possibly the world. Come in Thursday for the Outlaw Burger and a pint for only $15. See you at the 9.
Coast Paper and Supply is a local, family-owned supply business right here in Santa Cruz since 1948. They've been proudly serving the Central Coast through this COVID-19 pandemic. Sanitation is a serious concern during this pandemic, and Coast Paper and Supply is open to offer you the widest selection of janitorial supplies to be found anywhere. With their excellent selection of quality products and customer service, discover why many local businesses, schools, and households choose to shop at Coast Paper and Supply. You can find Coast Paper and Supply at 151 Josephine Street in Santa Cruz, open weekdays 8 to 4 p.m. Or you can give them a call at 831-423-3350. You can also check out their website at coastpapersupplyinc.com. That's Coast Paper and Supply, keeping local businesses and households supplied since 1948. Don't miss Good Morning Monterey Bay with Rosie and Alex.
Monkeys will use the accent of another species when they enter its territory to enhance communication. That's very interesting. I wonder who did this study. And more importantly, how much they were paid to do this study. Not that I'm knocking it or anything.
By the big monkey lobbyists?
Yeah.
You mean? That is the question, isn't it?
That's right. Yes, it is. You see them all the time in Congress.
That's right. Lots and lots of them. Chimping around.
Yes, that's right. Chewing on nuts all in the good time.
There are few things better than seeing a monkey in a suit. It is a delight.
Don't miss Good Morning Monterey Bay, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on KSCO.
Well, that's our first hour of China Uber Alice for today. A very interesting discussion so far. As I mentioned, Amy Howe's story set the stage for us, and I just don't know how she does it. Anyway, we'll check in with Amy and Nan in just a moment as we stop for our mid-break of news and weather and traffic information. That's all on the way on KSCO. This is China Uber Alice right here on KSCO Santa Cruz.
KSCO News Talk time is 3:05. I'm Sam Quinton with your King of the Hill traffic and weather. Starting with Highway 17 up and over the summit, that is accident-free and moving at the limit. Highway 9 is clear. Here's where the fun and games begin. The southbound one starting at the Fishhook all the way through Bay Avenue. You're going to find very slow and go conditions there. That could be as much as a 10-minute delay to squeeze your way through there. The rest of the way on Highway 1 to Monterey and beyond is accident-free and moving at the limit. 129 is clear. 152, we have something on the CHP page involving 152. Holster-Gilroy area, 152 at Prunedale Avenue. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that's in Prunedale. Traffic collision has been reported there. Unknown injuries, it says. A vehicle hit some garbage cans and went off the roadway. So, good job of driving there. Units are on their way to the scene to check that out. Elsewhere, Highway 101 southbound between River Oaks and Aromas. You're going to find a delay there of about 3 to 4 minutes. And big one here, southbound 101 South Coyote to about Morgan Hill. You're going to find very slow and go conditions there. It says 11-minute delay. Could be more than that. Central Coast forecast for this afternoon. Sunny skies, looking for a high of 78 degrees. West winds 10 to 13 miles per hour. Right now outside the KSCO studios, it is 75 degrees, not miles per hour, as I said the last hour. KSCO News Talk time right now, 3:07. Time for the second hour of China Uber Alice.
And a reminder, Sam will be here all week.
Thank you.
In part by Sushi Market Sprouts on 7th in Santa Cruz and Kaito in the Capitola Mall Food Court. Treat yourself to the finest Japanese cuisine you'll find anywhere with fresh sushi to go and delicious ramen dinners. Sushi Market Sprouts and Kaito. Yum! It's hour number 2 of China Uber Alice for today. I'm Bill Graff, your host, along with Nan Su and Amy Howe, our guests. We have quite a discussion going on. We broke in the middle of a heated discussion about what communism really is. I don't know that...
We have a caller who said that China is just a different form of capitalism, which I do not agree, because I don't think China has a free market. All you need to do is just look at the latest Jack Ma's venture of trying to create a financial service corporation called Ant. And, all it took was Xi Jinping just say one word. It stopped the IPO of Ant Corporation, and actually Jack Ma was disappeared for several months, right? And that's number one. And China, of course, doesn't protect private property rights, and you don't have private property rights and protect it, and you don't have a free market in China. You just don't have a capitalism in China.
All right. Well, let's talk to Paul, who's calling us from San Francisco. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Hey, I love that definition that a guy gave about whether or not China is communist or not, because I have that debate with people all the time, and that was the best answer I have heard in years. But I worked as a prison guard for many, many, many years. So I'm very curious to talk to the person that was in prison in China about why it was a woman, right?
Yeah, Amy.
Amy,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and what conditions were like in there, because I worked as a prison guard both when I was in the Navy in 1960 to 64, and I've worked as a prison guard for the last 40 years. So I'd be interested in knowing. She was in a jail, a prison.
Not jail.
No, not jail. She was in
re-education program,
which is slightly different, but it's almost like walking around jail. Amy, you want to explain a little bit about your condition?
Yeah, it's like a labor camp. It's like a camp, but basically talking about the jail in entire China is a big jail because you had no freedom.
So that's in Uyghur.
That's a field. Most of people, and somebody said that they immediately really go to this different small jail or big jail. So she said that doesn't matter. She said you can arrest me and put me in small jail, but the entire China is a big jail. So she said that, and they put her in the small jail and they executed her.
Okay. Did you learn how to speak? Did you learn how to speak English when you were there? Did you learn how to speak English when you were in jail?
No.
No, she learned.
Are you kidding me?
She learned English in the United States.
You only can learn Mao. Chairman Mao's quotation book. That's all you can learn.
Okay. Well,
you cannot read any book. They don't give you any book. Any book you read, you don't have it. Just.
I see. Well, did you learn any science?
No.
Science. No.
We do the farm forced labor in the farm, rice field, 365 days a year, and not a 1 day break.
Okay. What did you get paid per month?
12 cents.
How much?
Not even can send the mail for the postage to my parents.
Okay.
And then 6 months they had no food. You had to looking for the roots, those tree bugs, and to eat it. It's a 3 crop. The rice field, they have a 3 crop, but most of it the communists took away. And then the
3 crops a year. 3 crops a year.
3 crops a year. Yeah.
So what year were you in the re-education camp? What year?
From 1969 and I get out of that program in 1979. 10 years.
10 years. Okay. So
she escaped to the West to get away from it, eventually made her way and became a United States citizen. But what are you getting at exactly? What are you trying to find out here?
Well, I'm just, because my wife is from that region. My wife is Chinese. And I know a lot about the Uyghurs, and I know about what's going on in China. I've spent my whole life since 1955 studying China. And I'll give you an example. When I was in the Navy, I was a guard for President Kennedy. And Kennedy was assassinated the month before my wife got here. And she is asking, what kind of country is this? I've moved to a third world country where the president can be assassinated in broad daylight in front of 1,000 witnesses, and there's no... it's still a mystery. Why is it there? So what kind of country do we live in compared to China? She wants to know now. And she's a Chinese citizen, but she now practices law. She's an attorney. She and I went to law school together.
Well, I think you've just answered her own question. She's now an attorney, which means she has forged a life, got an education, done everything she needed to do to become an attorney in the United States, which has its problems, but it's one heck of a lot more free than China.
Well, do you agree we have 99% of the freedom that we enjoy here that you won't find in China?
Well, for instance, China has abolished about 80% of extreme poverty.
No, it hasn't.
I come from a background. I worked for $1 a day as a child in this country. I worked in slave conditions in this country as a child. I got paid $1 a day for working 12 hours a day, taking care of a huge farm. So,
first of all,
I understand slavery. I understand slavery, having been a slave. So, and in the Navy, you're treated like a slave.
Okay, yeah, we get to be a little careful about how you making all these comparisons and translations of terms. Like what I say, Chairman Xi is a chairman in Chinese, but someone purposely translated to President Xi entirely.
He's not a president. He's a chairman of a communist party. He's a dictator.
He's a chairman.
He's a dictator.
Yeah. And also, I also have problems that, for example, calling China an authoritarian regime. I always think that translation is not accurate. To me, I mean, an authoritarian regime will be some government like Singapore. I'm okay with you say Singapore has an authoritarian government. I mean, calling China an authoritarian government, it's like a Chinese government. It's similar to Singapore government. That's totally wrong. See, the Chinese government, it's an inhumane government. They are entirely against humanity. That's an inhumane government. Now, on the first day, when the concept of communism was created by Karl Marx, it was entirely against humanity. It promotes two things. Number one, the absolutely equal. So that is against the bad part of humanity. You cannot even...
it's against human nature.
Against human nature, right? So human nature has a good part or bad part. You cannot against either part. You cannot deny either part. Right? Deny either part is the deny of humanity. So when you promote the absolutely equality, that's the denial of the bad part of humanity. And also, when you use the violent revolution to try to achieve your absolutely equality, that's the denial of the good part of humanity. So the communism is the completely denial of both good part and bad part of humanity. So that is the inhuman.
May I ask Amy a question about equality? Do women in China have more equality than women in the United States? There's more women in the United States in poverty and in prison in the United States than there are in China, I believe. How would you compare the women's position in China compared to American women?
It's totally this is like a man said that these two systems you cannot compare.
There is no equal rights in China.
No,
well, let me ask it another way.
For all the human beings, not just a woman.
Amy, let me ask it another way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are you better off in the United States than you would have been in China?
Of course, United States. But I try to tell the gentleman, and he say you went to the law school. So you have to understand that in China is no constitution. So there's no human right. So it's this for everybody, not just a woman, So you cannot compare. A woman is
I'll give you an example of human rights. I think human rights is the right to an education, the right to housing, the right to medical care, the right to food. In China, there is less poverty than there is in Mississippi in this country. So I know that, having lived in this country for 79 years now, that there's more poverty in this country, more men in prison in this country than there is in China, I believe. What do you think?
Well, have you ever gone to the western part of China?
Yes, and I'm on my way there now. I'm very interested in the Uyghur situation.
I mean, not a Uyghur. You just go to the northern western part of China in the province of like Qinghai, Gansu, those provinces. Go there, take a look. Compare those to
Louisiana.
To Louisiana, to Mississippi. I mean, you've never been there. I mean, you're just out of your own imagination.
I have been there 4 times, and I'm going back for the Winter Olympics.
You don't even know. See, when I say northern western part of China, you mention Xinjiang. Xinjiang is on the northern part of China, not northern western part of China.
You missed my point. My wife is from there.
Which province from?
I do not remember the province she's from, but she's very interested in the northwest part of China. And we read China Daily every day.
Oh, that's your problem. China Daily, it's the English version. It's the English version of People's Daily. That's the official mouthpiece of the Chinese Communist Party. If you read that every day, you are probably brainwashed.
The New York Times has never published the pictures from Dallas, Texas, of the people we know that assassinated President Kennedy, because the New York Times is a mouthpiece for the 6 corporations that control all of the United States, own all of the elected officials, own all of the media, except probably KSCL. But most of the media is owned by the 6 corporations that run this country. And you can't name one of them, probably, because you have no idea that this is a dictatorship just like China.
Well, first of all, let me tell you this. You can't say all the media are owned by the 6 corporations. I work for Epoch Times, so we are not owned by any of these 6 corporations, no matter who you tell them, who they are.
All I have to say, well, I can tell you who you're owned by. Do you want to know who you're owned by?
Well, tell me.
All you have to do is look at the ads. I read your newspaper. Look at the ads in your newspaper. You're owned by Big Pharma. You're owned by Big Tobacco. Read your own newspaper. Who do you think pays for it? I read it.
Well, first of all,
I
think you need to stop reading China Daily. That's a government mouthpiece of the Chinese Communist Party.
I read the New York Times, too. I read the San Francisco Chronicle. Why? Because I know how to read between the lines. I have a law degree. I know what's going on in this country. This is a dictatorship. They assassinated President John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, his brother, Martin Luther King.
Paul, let me just say this, Paul. I'm not even gonna deny what you're saying, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. That's the point.
I'm just comparing the 2 countries because I live in both of them.
So you think China? Is actually
better than
the United States?
The life expectancy in China is longer.
You're not answering the question, Paul. Answer the question. Yes or no? It's a yes or no question.
Oh, obviously China is a better country.
Oh, okay. Well, I have nothing else to say other than suggesting you just immigrate to China and become a Chinese citizen.
No, Paul, you just mentioned that you say Chinese people, they have a right, they have the food, they have everything, and do they have a freedom of speech? You didn't answer my question.
I am a
Can they criticizing Chairman Xi? Can they say words about him?
Right now, I'm on the ballot.
You can say you don't like Biden, you don't like Trump. You can say anything. You're not going to go to jail. But if you say something about Chairman Xi, you know what's happened?
You disappear.
You want to try that?
Go to China. Go. You know what, Paul? Wait, and say something bad about the current chairman. Go ahead.
When I'm in China, I write large character wall posters and put up my protest there. I'm upset that they're vaccinating everybody in China because the long-term effects of this vaccine is going to be massive amounts of medical problems, serious medical problems, according to Dr. Luc Montagnier, who just won the Nobel Prize in Medicine and is a virologist, been doing this all his life. He said the long-term effects of this vaccine is going to be devastating to any country that uses the vaccine, including China.
Paul, I appreciate the call. Thank you.
Well, that's very interesting. I would suggest Paul to immigrate to China, since he actually
if he does and hangs posters against Chairman Xi, it is not going to go well.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if hey Paul, it doesn't matter if you have a law degree or not. If you go to China and you put a poster against the Chairman Xi, you're going to be in jail. But here in the United States, wherever you do, here you call in, you talk about openly, you criticize anyone, even Biden or Trump on radio, you're not going to go to jail.
This radio station is a great example of what we're talking about. If we did this in China, all 3 of us would be in jail already.
That's right.
There's no doubt about it. All right, Rob is calling us from San Jose. Rob, you're on China Uber Alice. And thanks for waiting.
No problem. Boy, the last two callers have been a little confused. If you think about it, the first guy, or this last guy right here, he said he went to China. Hello?
Yeah, we're listening.
Okay. Yeah, he said he went to China, right? If he thinks that he went to China alone, was able to, the Chinese party knows that he's there. The Chinese party is going to let him see what they want him to see, and nothing else. So, his warp, it's kind of warped his way he thought. And then I could see the last caller that with the, or not the last caller, the caller before that with the Communist Party. I could see his point. Although I agree with you, I can see his point. And what he's doing is confusing the fact that communism doesn't mean everybody communes equally together. The people at the top get to be rich, and everybody else gets to be poor. And so that's where he's saying they're capitalists because they're rich. It's like, no, they're communists, but they're, he did mention the fact that they're thieves, which is true. I can see his point, but he's wrong. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, I think you're right, actually. I think your point of view is actually a little more salient than his point of view, although he did make some good points, but it was just the idea that you write off all the good points and you highlight all the bad points, and then you got sort of an equal argument. It doesn't work for me.
Well, see, you have to look at the big picture. Look at the big picture, and the big picture is history has proved to us how many people the former Soviet Union communist government and Chinese government have killed. So that's an inhuman practice of a government form. That's called communism. That's what it is. And then you can make it equal between you say Chinese government is a corporate state that's equal to American corporations. Look, American corporations, they have to in compliance to the legal system in the United States, which protect all of our rights, which when you go to China, wherever you call the Chinese government is, it does not protect any of your basic rights.
True.
Yes, very true. Also, my dad died when I was 5 years old in 1968, and he was a Korean War veteran. And all he ever would, one of the things he'd always say is, China is the enemy.
Yeah. Well, it was obvious during the Korean War who was backing North Korea and who was backing South Korea. It was pretty obvious.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he insisted until 1968 that China was still the enemy.
Well, he till the day he died, he was probably right. Listen, Rob, we appreciate you staying on the line and making your points. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. I appreciate this show very much also.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. Let's move on to talk to Dick in Santa Cruz. If I push the right button. Dick, you're on KSCO.
Oh, yeah. Hi.
Hi. How you doing? Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Yeah, I'm just running from the garage. Yeah, I had to call up after those two crazy guys, Dave and Paul. Yeah,
they're not crazy. They just have a different point of view is all.
Yeah, they should move to China. They're so confused. Yeah, I mean, it was comical where he was cross-examining Amy about just how much suffering did you occur in 10 years in the gulag in China, What did you get paid for? What was he getting at? The first thing that hit me was a couple of years ago there was a article. It probably was in the New York Post, but it might have been I think it was in the Journal, and maybe you guys remember. There was a defector from actually ISIS. I think she was in the terrorist group for a while. She got over here to New York. And she's a journalist, lawyer, or whatever. And she wrote a rather lengthy article comparing ISIS to the DNC. And
I remember that. I remember that story.
Yeah, it was very poignant. I thought some of her points of the tactics that they use, and my idea is, why isn't somebody writing like you guys should write a comparison at this? I mean, after those two callers, you should write a comparison today of the CCP and the DNC.
Now, you have just made a perfect suggestion to a guy who just he just finished a published article, just finished, what is that, about 16 pages?
Yeah, that's called, that's the result, a report of investigation of the collaboration between the University of California and China. Read Epoch Times. It's called Banking on China. The University of California's collaboration, China's collaboration is under the spotlight.
So you now have a new idea for a new article.
Thank you, David, for the suggestion.
I was thinking in terms of pure politics and the way like you guys, especially Amy, would have a lot to say about how the CCP and Maoism in general has been exported to the United States, and through the Confucian centers and the universities favoring Chinese students and having 500,000 of them here, probably half of them spying for the CCP directly, and just the entrenchment, and like that one guy was just going on about capitalism and the industrial, complex, and there's a global. I believe there is an insidious thing going on with technocrats and those politicians in power right now, especially the Democrats.
Sure.
I also believe that the DNC has been using. Well, first of all, the CCP knows the DNC so well. I mean, what's the first thing they did when the ambassador sat down, up in Canada? The CCP said, "You have all those problems with BLM, and you can't tell us anything about our internal problems."
You're not qualified.
Yeah.
To be here.
You're not even You're not even qualified to open your mouth. Anyway,
why are they doing the genocide in China?
Yeah, they're killing the Uyghurs.
Yeah, well, it's disgusting, actually. The harvesting and the killing. Live people. They're harvesting. That's why I've talked to you before about the harvesting and of organs. But there's absolutely there might be a thread of evidence, where that guy was reaching for about something about how it was, what was capitalism. I mean, they just have a different form of it over there, but he's ignoring the incredible humanitarian issues.
That's right.
And the freedoms. There's no real freedom.
Thank you, Dick, Thank you for reiterating my point. I appreciate that because that is the big difference.
That's the humanity. That's the bottom line that China is missing.
He was talking about the fact that a couple of our presidents have been assassinated, right? But look at the thousands of people who were killed by the government.
Tens of millions of people being
killed in China by the government.
Yeah, well, what about the tens of millions of lives when you just compare with one president being killed? How did you weigh that?
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, there's no comparison. Just like we know every leader, every factory owner over in China is a high-ranking member of the CCP.
Right.
Yeah.
And they take all their direction from the CCP, and their economy is churning along a little faster than ours, but my goodness, at what cost? And I will say one thing to Nan about. I thought it was curious where that guy. I mean, he was all over the map. I think it was David about something about they got the coal-fired plants running, generating bitcoins. Did you catch any of that?
Yeah. We caught all of that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just. It's just amazing the threads that they're going for to try to justify China as a world power, where everybody in the world should be, and especially our
corroborated.
Yeah.
Everybody should be corroborated.
Everybody should collaborate.
With the CCP.
Listen. I think the point was illustrated very well when we said, where would you rather live? And the guy said China, and he said he was going to paste up posters. And I said, the minute he becomes a citizen of China and pastes up posters, he's done.
Yeah.
They're going to put him in. If he stays alive, they're going to put him in a cell for the rest of his life.
Yeah, we should have told him to just buy one-way ticket, because I never will see him again.
There's on the DNC side, all the, the uniformity of their always their vote in the House and Senate, and they usually don't have any anybody really arguing within their party against them. That just rings true of the CCP. I mean, they are through cancel culture, intimidation. You name it. The DNC is running their party like the CCP.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a whole nother show. Because we could seriously talk about politics in the United States. We have some. Dick, we have some problems.
We have our own problems.
We have our own problems
here in the United States. But don't compare. Never compare China with any organization or institutions in the United States.
Our worst institutions are way better than what's going on in China.
That's right.
I'm just comparing their propaganda and the way they are controlling.
No, we understand. But like I said, that's a whole other program.
That's okay.
Thanks for calling, Dick. We appreciate your input, as always. Let's move on to Rory in Watsonville. Rory's always got salient points. Hello, sir.
Hey, you all. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I caught part of Paul's call, and I don't know if he's a paid troll, but that guy's confused. And then, Nan, when you asked him what province his wife was from, he stumbled. He doesn't have a Chinese wife.
He said he don't remember.
That guy's a fraud. I think the CCP is zeroing in on your little radio show here, and they're trying to throw some trolls at you to throw you off. Yeah. But hey, I heard. Do you guys know who Trevor London is?
Yes, Trevor London. Yeah, he actually came to our show a couple of times as a guest.
Yeah.
Good. I missed those. I know he's got his website called the accountabilityinitiative.org. He said there's 25,000 active CCP spies in the U.S. Forget the students. The students do have to divulge information to the government when asked. And so I thought that was interesting. I'm going to do a little more reading. I mean, I know it's bad.
Yeah, he said last time he said that in the program, he said he can name couple in Santa Cruz. He said next time he come and try. That's what he said. Really, honestly, it was not joking.
Yeah, no. Tell him to name names. Let's find out. Let's see what's going on.
It's interesting to know,
ladies. Yeah, well, we know Slawwell was Representative Slawwell from the East Bay. He was cavorting with one of them. So we know, we see it. But the only other thing was, give us a picture of the average income in China, including all the, what is it? It's still about 900 million to a billion peasants, and 300-400 million in the middle upper class.
Yeah, something like that.
They have
their middle class percentage population is about less than 30%.
Yeah,
middle and upper class together less than 30%.
Okay.
So you're talking about 900 million really poor peasants.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, if the CCP didn't have a hammer on these people, they'd do much, much better. And that's really the battle. It's a battle of ideology. They're under a communist boot, And even though our media and the DNC and most of the universities are under a communist mind control in this country, there's still a lot more freedom here. And Paul, if China sounds that attractive, where are all the people trying to break into mainland China, trying to get there to live their freedom? As you
look at how many people want to break out as to break in. it's
pretty telling. But anyway, thank you guys for carrying the torch of liberty and good info.
Thank you for calling and participating in the show as always, Rory. We appreciate it.
Yeah, well, one thing that to talk about Paul's comment that China get all the people out of poverty. Now, let me quote China's Prime Minister Li Keqiang in June of last year. On a news conference, that's what he said. He said China has 600 million people. That's their average monthly income. It's less than 1,000 yen. That's like less than $200
a month.
A month, and that's that was said by China's Prime Minister Li Keqiang. Prime Minister during the news conference and on the National Congress meeting. Now. For your information, if you go to Shanghai or any big cities, most of the big cities, if you go there, like Guangzhou, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Beijing, Tianjin, those big cities, their market, their apartment price, it's more expensive than our housing price here.
Yeah.
No, they're
unbelievable. Yeah.
And you have 600 million people. That's like close to half of China's the population. They have a monthly income less than 1,000 yen.
How do they?
That's like $180 a month or something.
So what you're saying by pointing out that rental prices in places like Shanghai are really high?
Yeah.
It'd be like the difference between renting an apartment in San Francisco and trying to find a place to live for $200 a month.
Nice.
That's the difference in the wages between those two sets of people.
That's right.
Okay? Now, $200, $180 a month, you can't, on that kind of money, finding a place to live and finding enough to eat at the same time is look, I'll just come out and say it. It's not possible.
Yeah, so you always say to follow the money.
Yes, I do.
Look at the money, they can't lie, the thing.
Yeah, just
think about that.
This is the only advice I'm going to give to Paul. Just quit reading People's Daily. You're getting all the wrong information.
I'm going to give him some other advice. Here's my advice. When you go to China, if you decide to live there, do not, I repeat, post any posters of
that's a good advice.
Because you will.
That's a safety of yourself.
Yeah, you will. Your wife, your
family,
friends, everybody will disappear. You will not. Trust me. We have a first-hand participant in what happens if you don't do anything wrong. You still go away for a while to get re-educated. If you're a good person and don't do anything wrong, we know Amy's one of those people. I know Amy. I've talked to her. She's a nice person. She didn't do anything wrong. She had to denounce her own parents. I mean, wow.
So Billy, if Paul holding a poster anti-America, probably they welcome. I tell you.
Yeah, if you go to China and you hold an anti-American poster, but you're going to be awarded by the CCP.
But he said he was going to criticize about the Uyghurs and remember that's what he was talking about. I guarantee you, if he holds up a poster criticizing the
persecution against the Uyghurs,
he's going to end up with some of his organs gone.
That's right.
It's probably going to happen.
I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm seriously worried about him. I hope he doesn't do that. Anyway.
Hey, Paul. Take care of your family and be safe.
That's it.
I'm just joking. Suggesting you move to China. Don't move to China.
Don't do it.
You have a lot of freedom here, protected by the Constitution of the United States.
That's right. We got
right. You're a lawyer.
And we've all said it. We've all said it on this program, Amy. We've all said it. The United States is not perfect. We've got some real issues we got to deal with. But guess what? It's still better than just about anywhere else.
That's correct. I totally agree with you, Bill.
All right, let's talk to Ray in Watsonville. Ray, you're on KSCO. Thanks for calling.
Hey, how you doing? Love your guys' show, by the way.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much, actually.
Quick question on the word ideology. What is the definition given the relationship between the U.S. and China of ideology? What does that mean?
Wow, that's a really great question. That is a great question. Ideology, refers to the backbone beliefs of a society. And I think every family in the world has the same ideology, but when you graduate from the familial unit up to another place, another strata, then it starts to really diverge into different directions. I think we all want to raise our kids in a safe environment, want to give them as much knowledge as we can in whatever it is they're trying, that ideology I think is universal around the world. I can't think of a society that's different,
Okay, perfect. So the idea is perfect. So the ideology to explain the United States of America what would be our ideology?
Well, I think
freedom.
Freedom. You start with freedom.
Well, it starts there, but that's what I'm trying to figure out.
I think it's the freedom.
Hang on. As far as the Constitution, that's our freedom. So, what relationship does ideology have with the Constitution? You mentioned your first answer was the backbone of the country. Well, freedom is not our backbone. Our Constitution says that our freedom is written around the Constitution and based on that as being people. Our ideology in what you just explained to me would be our way of life. Our way of life would be work hard, be self-employed, be independent, along with all those things that are certainly important, that would fall in category of ideology. But I'm talking about working for a living, being a hard worker, and with the strive for success and prosperity along those lines. I would say that would be really the ideology of this country. Would that be safe to say?
Right. Yes.
Certainly, that's part of it, Ray.
Yeah. I think the fundamental ideology of the United States is called "all men are created equal."
Okay, that's good. All right. Okay, so
wait. Before you keep going, Amy, did you want to say something? I didn't hear what you said.
I said right to pursue happiness.
Yeah, right. Right.
Right to pursue, and also the freedom was guaranteed by Constitution.
Absolutely. That's why I wouldn't consider
I said nothing.
Ideology. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's the thing. I hear everybody talking about everybody else's ideology around the planet, but I don't hear anybody talking about what's going on here in the United States. And what I mean by that would be this. If anybody thinks that we're going to get our manufacturing companies back, given the current circumstances this country's in, they need to get off the crack, because here's what we got. Here's what we're competing against, and this is what is putting the nail in our coffin. We're competing against China that has no physical structure in that country that's older than 35 years old. The technology of everything built into China's factories are all state of the art, top of the line, the most productive assembly line facilities in the world are all there, and that is attracting manufacturing companies all over the planet to do business over there. On top of that, they have a labor force that, like the previous caller had mentioned, has got the labor force underneath the CCP's foot. if those things do not change in the United, I'm not saying the wages, because I think our wages are way too low in the United States. But my point is not that. My point is, how is any president that runs for office and gets elected under the premise of getting our manufacturing companies back when these privately owned companies are attracted to China because the state-of-the-art facilities are producing maximum amount of volume? They're doing it at a minimum amount of price that we can't compete with. They have state-of-the-art infrastructure throughout the whole entire country that's no older than 35 years old. And you turn around and look at our infrastructure here, just in terms of our manufacturing. I'm not talking about our bridges or roads or anything like that. I'm talking about the manufacturing infrastructure in this country of the United States in comparison to China. We can't compete. This billions, trillions of dollars of stimulus package, as far as I'm concerned, Joe Biden would have been the ultimate hero if he said, okay, enough's enough. This money is going, if we have to buy the property and put up state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities to get these businesses back in this country, that's what we got to do. Because the bottom line is, they're privately owned companies, and we have no control over where they decide to do business since they passed the
stimulus package,
allowing them to do business in other countries.
Yeah.
So what are we offering them? Even if Donald Trump was president tomorrow, I'm not saying, I hope he is, but I'm not saying anything negative towards it, because at least he was going after. At least he was putting the wheels in motion.
Ray, you've stated
it doesn't matter who becomes president if their
That's right.
focus is not to build our infrastructure and manufacturing alone.
Ray, you've made a brilliant point. You made a brilliant point. We're behind the 8 ball, and we've done it to ourselves by helping China tool up.
Agreed.
Okay, so
wholeheartedly.
I think you're right. I really think you make some great salient points. Nan's shaking his head. Yes, he's going. Yeah. He's making all the right points. So here's what we need to do. We sort of had it. I hate to keep referring back to this, but it's my example as how I know we can do it. When we were forced.
Oh, I know we can do it.
When we were forced, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, when we were forced to turn it around and start making stuff in a hurry to help the war effort, the United States of America turned around faster than any other country on the planet Earth.
Absolutely, but we do not have a president in office right now that has that potential to get the people on the side to do that.
No, you may be right about that.
In this office that are going the opposite direction.
Oh, look, I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying, Ray, but programs like this with rhetoric like yours will help us get back on the
absolutely
way we ought to go. And look,
if I was Donald Trump, I would go to the American people. If I was elected office tomorrow, I would go to the American people and say, look, job one, right now, my first day of this administration is going to be really simple. We're going to take Chicago, where our manufacturing plants are all dilapidated. We're going to bulldoze it down with your tax dollars, and we're going to completely redo that whole entire state. And we're going to bring our manufacturing back, state-of-the-art, top-of-the-line, best in the planet, and then we're going to get these companies back to do business with the United States, and rather than us lowering the wage to the American people, to the workers, we are going to keep that workforce powerful, because it's that workforce powerful making money that puts money back on Main Street. That's what greases the wheels.
Very good point. Hey, Ray,
the next thing would be to exempt these businesses for taxes, even if it's 10 years. It doesn't matter. We got to get them back.
Ray, I will just say this about you. I will say this, okay? I don't care who you back for president. I don't care what party you back. I don't care. I need you to make the point to whoever you're backing to get it done, because I think guys like you are the guys who are going to force us to turn it around. And we appreciate.
I've been. I don't know. My big problem is I'm just a little guy in a big world, and I don't. I don't know, what avenues to tap on and to get there. I mean,
wait, Ray, let me stop you, okay? Because we're running out of time and I got to get a couple of calls in before I go to my end of the hour break. Let me just say this. You have what very few people have. You have the enthusiasm and you have the ideas. You need to find a politician and start hammering them.
That's right. You need to go to this your whoever is your elected official and tell them what you believe.
Yeah,
I credit DirecTV for that. I was with them for quite a long time.
All right. Well, listen. Call us back, and we want to hear from you again. Okay.
I will. Thank you.
All right. I love it. Let's go to downtown Al. Al, I'm running out of time, but I want to get you on if I can here.
Oh, I'll make it quick. Talking about what Ray was talking about, that's going to mean an entire restructuring of society. It's basically what Dr. Victor Hansen was talking about. We're fighting over transsexual rights and what bathroom you can use and, all this tribal strife and whatever else. And meanwhile, they're building stuff. Yeah, if you're going to go down and tear down Chicago or whatever to rebuild it, you're going to be dealing with, lead poisoning and toxic waste, and it'll be tied up in lawsuits forever and blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying we don't need to change. Ray's right. We need to do that. But our society right now is our biggest hindrance. It's not our technology. It isn't even always our government. It's this sort of strife.
Yep.
But, you probably have somebody else on the line, but
I'm really running out of time here. I got to get to my commercial break. Tell me the bottom line. Cut to the chase.
Oh, the bottom line is it's a lot more complicated than that, and we really need to change our society and not put up with a lot of this stuff that's being stirred up, especially by liberals.
You got a point. You got a point there.
If you want to get anything done. And infrastructure does age. We've always had this problem. You build a state-of-the-art steel smelter, and then it starts to age out, and then another country builds the next state-of-the-art one, and we're behind.
Yep.
And it's
we cannot. Like right now, I read an article. We cannot rebuild the Golden Gate Bridge if we had to. It's not possible in the United States right now.
We don't have the steel.
We don't have the steel
manufacturing in the United States anymore.
Al, we got to go. I'm sorry. Let's take a quick break here.
Satisfy your hunger with a fresh, prepared, twice-daily grab-and-go sushi you'll find waiting for you at Sushi Market Sprouts, 2 blocks from the beach at 300 7th Avenue in Santa Cruz. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, I'm Junko, and I look forward to serving you at the Sushi Market Sprouts.
Hi, this is Chef Jamie Smith. At Foodsmith, we deliver the freshest, most affordable paleo, vegan, and ketogenic meals on the Central Coast directly to your door or office. And we deliver all over Santa Cruz, Monterey, and the South Bay. Choose your meal plan, meal type, and how many days you'd like it delivered. Place your order by Thursday at midnight for delivery the following week. It's that easy. Our meals average about $8 per meal, with no cleanup, no prep, and no shopping. Just go to myfoodsmith.com to place your order now. Foodsmith, the healthiest food on earth.
At Batteries Plus, we do more than fix phones and tablets. We help our neighbors power their lives. Visit Batteries Plus in-store, curbside, and online to save $10 on Duracell Ultra car batteries. For offer details and limitations, visit batteriesplus.com.
Wow, this show went by quicker than I could ever believe. It was amazing how many folks we talked to today. Want to remind folks that we have a website, ChinaUberAlice.com. We want you to go there. We have a lot of show material, stuff we didn't even get to today. Great articles. There's an article in there about COVID. There's also more about the Chinese chairman. There's all kinds. Look, just go to ChinaUberAlice.com and you can hear past episodes and update yourself on what we're talking about. Amy, I can't wait for next week's story. Your story this week was beautiful. It set up everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me talk about it.
Yeah. Listen, Nan, we'll talk to you. I'm going to go read your article. I didn't have a chance this week to see it ahead of time, but I'll go read the latest article. And we want to thank all of you for listening to our program. We greatly appreciate it. We're here every Thursday from 2 to 4. Join us next week for China Uber Alice right here on AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz. The Flight 1080 crew are gassing up the airplane. I think Dave has to put on a new tire or something. That left tire looks pretty bad. But we got the rest of the show, the rest of the afternoon with Dave and his crew. So keep it right here on KSCO and join us again next week for China Uber Alice. This is KSCO Santa Cruz.